Welcome to part 2 of the 23 lessons that I wanted to share with you from my 2023. When I first was writing these down, I was just jotting out a couple of notes, and part 1 ended up being longer than I thought. So I've broken it into a 2-part series. I really wanted to share this episode with you to share some of my big ahas from the year that might be helpful for you in creating your most amazing 2024. So, as I said in the intro, welcome back. This is the second part in a 2-part series about some of the biggest lessons that I have from the year 2023. This might be a really fun exercise for you to do as well. If you're listening to this podcast, maybe there's some things in here that are ahas for you, but it might be worth sitting down and writing out some of your biggest lessons or learnings from the year 2023. I've really enjoyed going through this process, and I'm sure you will too. So in part 1, we got through lessons number 1 to 12. And in today, we will go through the final 10 lessons that I had in the year. So number 13, the lesson that I had that was a real aha, but also something that I've known for a while, if that makes sense. But it is that there is so much power in intention, in getting really clear about what it is that you desire and going for it. When I reflect and look back on what I'd wanted to create in the year 2023, when I look back at my vision board, I can tick so many of the things on my vision board off. So I'd said that I wanted to have a best-selling book, and I'm so proud looking back on the year to say that that is something that happened. I had holidays. Paid speaking was on my vision board, and I've had multiple paid speaking opportunities throughout the year, which is really cool, amongst other various things. So if you want to change your life, or even if you just want to take it to the next level, get clear about what it is that you want. Create that vision board. Set yourself some goals as you head into the new year. There's so much power in getting clear about what you want. The next thing that I learned in 2023 is that sometimes you get the things that you want and maybe they aren't exactly what you hoped they would be. And I just want to share, it's okay for you to get the things that you want and then to be able to say, thank you so much for universe, for achieving that goal, but I want to see it in a slightly different way. Maybe you've had that experience too, where you finally get to the thing that you wanted and it's not quite what you thought it would be. And I guess I just wanted to share that that's okay. It's okay to get to your goal and then want to see it in a different way. I know that certainly happened to me. I believe it was the year 2021 that I had just been so desperate, so curious. I don't like the word desperate. I'd been so keen to up level, to grow my business, to get it to the multiple 6-figure mark. And then that year when I did get there, I was suddenly overworked. I was working really long hours. I was exhausted. And while I was deeply, deeply grateful, I could also say thank you, but also I want to see this in a slightly different way moving forward. So you can set your goals, and it's okay if you get there and then you want to see it in a slightly different way. Remember that you are in charge of your business. You are in charge of your life. And if something isn't where you want it to be yet, or if you get somewhere and you want it to look slightly different, you get to decide that. You get to choose something different. I know for me, I am continually revisiting my offers and saying, is this aligned? Does this excite me? Does this expand me? And if it doesn't, what can I do? How can I shift this? How can I change this moving forward? Alrighty. Number 15, the lesson number 15 from 2023 is to do less. So I spent much of the year 2023 in a state of busyness. I launched my book. I did my profit parties. I was launching my programs, which I love, love, love so much. But I realized in reflection that being busy doesn't always mean that that is the best way to get ahead. In fact, sitting here now, and I'm going to do a whole new episode about looking forward into the new year, setting goals and things like that. But sitting here right now, a big intention that I have for myself in the year 2024 is to do less, but do it better. So just something to reflect on. Maybe this resonates for you. Maybe you're someone like me who's busy, 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 but perhaps you're not getting the important things done. Something to reflect on. Okay. Lesson number 16. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Is this something that perhaps resonates for you? A lot of times when we are wanting to create change, we think, I've got to throw the baby out with the bathwater and, start from scratch. And something that I'm learning as my business goes on is that if it ain't broke, you don't have to fix it. It doesn't mean that you can't change. It doesn't mean that you can't modify your offers or your team or your marketing or anything like that. But sometimes, just sometimes, it's worth sticking with things the way that they are. I know for me, when I look at my suite of offers, particularly when I look at my courses, I've got my mindset course accelerator. I've got my course that's all about business finances called Foundations, the Profit Academy Foundations. And they are freaking fantastic programs. Even though as an entrepreneur, I love to create new things, if you've got something great, something works, it's something that gets results, if it ain't broke, you don't have to fix it. Okay, lesson number 17 from 2023. Therapy is a game changer. So I've been regularly seeing a counselor for, it must be coming up to a couple of years now. And honestly, it's been one of the most transformational things that I've done in my life. I have seen a psychologist a couple of times over my life. If I was going through something big, I might go and do a session or a couple of sessions and I'll be like, yeah, right, that's sorted. And this time around, I am immersed in the process of doing this as a regular thing, something that I want to do for the rest of my life. I am learning so much about trauma, about lessons, about how the brain works, and about myself as well on this journey. And it's actually really changed how I think about things as well. I think I've been one of those people who sometimes can be a little bit black and white, and I'm learning to empathize and see things and understand why people do the things that they do. So if you've tried therapy before and it didn't work for you, I can resonate because that was me. I'd be very impatient. I think this is a lot of money. And I'd be like, I don't have time for this. And having committed to the process now for an extended period of time, I honestly am really loving it. I'm learning so much, and it really has made me, I guess, more well-rounded and learning a lot, like I said. So therapy, game changer. Number 18, lesson number 18 is being disorganized costs you money. Now, this can, in some areas of my life and my business, I am incredibly organized. My clients often say to me, you're so organized, because I put a lot of effort into ensuring that their experience with me is professional and seamless, and that I'm well prepared for our calls or our mastermind calls or whatever it might be. But a lot of the time I am quite disorganized, and some particular areas that spring to mind are around planning my launches, planning out my time, and having things prepared ahead of time. Something that I've learned is that this often costs me money. Being disorganized costs money. Let me share some examples of this. One of them, I forgot to order books for an event that I spoke at. I left it to the last minute. I've lost the email, or I'd forgotten about it, or whatever happened. And then I had to pay extra for a rush order on it. I have absolutely lost potential students inside my programs because my courses weren't executed as seamlessly as they could be. My social media, I go through periods where I can be planned ahead and then I go back to just posting day by day. And what happens when I am less planned is that the content isn't as good, isn't as seamless. And I know that this is potentially costing me clients. Now, the reason that I'm being really vulnerable and sharing this here is because you might be doing the same thing. You might be disorganized in all areas or in some areas of your business. And I really want to encourage you to start to explore that, like I am, because it is potentially costing you customers. I know that there have definitely been people that have sent me DMs on Instagram. I haven't had a chance to get back to them. And to be honest, I haven't even got a process in place that I can outsource that to my assistant to support me. So I know that being disorganized is costing me money. And if you are like this, potentially it is for you as well. So something to have a think about. The next lesson from the year, and I don't know that this is particularly new information to me, but it's always something that when I reflect on how my life is traveling, how my business is performing, this thing always comes up. And it's this: your network is your net worth. The people you are around, the support that you have will make or break you in business and in life. And at the start of this year, I was really clear that I want to continue to up-level the people that I surround myself with. I want to have deep and genuine connections with inspiring humans to lift me up. So I did a podcast episode on this recently about how I've really up-leveled the amount of money, the amount of wealth that I am around in my friendship circles, not at the expense of hanging out with people I don't want to spend time with, but being able to hang out with really beautiful humans who I enjoy their company, they enjoy mine, and also being able to be in the energy of people who are achieving success, who are wealthy, who are affluent, because you become who you are surrounded by. I'm going to answer this question because I know it's always the first thing that people ask me when I say this, but how do you find these people? Firstly, intention. Who do you want to hang out with? Have you actually set this as a goal for yourself? And secondly, if you can't attract them into your life, how can you intentionally get around those kind of people? In the space of business, one of the things I always recommend, pay for it. A lot of my friends were coaches of mine in networking groups with me, have done courses with me. When you pay to be in the energy, it's a great way to get around the right kind of people. Lesson number 20. Writing a book is so worth it. I love that I am now a best-selling author. And I've shared quite openly on the podcast. Truthfully, it was a really big financial investment for me. And there was a period of time when I was really questioning, has this been worth it for me? Has all the time, energy, effort, financial investment been worth it? And I'm really now starting to see the fruits of that labor. There are revenue, there are opportunities that are coming up for me that I know that I wouldn't have had without this book. It's put me into certain circles. Like I said, I'm getting paid speaking opportunities, and the wholesale orders are starting to come in. And it's so cool to be able to see the revenue coming through. It really is starting to feel like a passive income stream. I am so proud of my book that I am really excited to have put on my vision board to write my next one. I have an awesome idea for the next book. It will be slightly different. So keep listening to the potty, keep an eye on my socials, and I might share a little bit about the journey of creating this next book. Alrighty, next lesson is to never give up. Since my car accident, I've really struggled with motivation. It's been something that's really, been a tough period of time getting the head back in the game. And something that I want to share that I've realized is that a lot of the game is continuing to show up, even through tough times. through challenging times of motivation, through challenging times cash flow wise, a lot of people quit. They don't have the courage to keep on going. I've had to make some really tough calls this year. One of them is restructuring my team, as I shared earlier, going through a tough cash flow period, having a look at my cash flow forecast and saying, hey, I'm going to have to shuffle things up. But you do what you have to do and you keep on going. There's a word that says pause, don't stop. Get support. If you are struggling in your business right now, how can you get the support that you need to navigate through this period of time? I am incredibly well supported by, my husband, my business coach, my business friends. And I think it really has enabled me to get through the challenging times. And it's really something that I think longevity in the business world is about being able to just keep on going and never giving up. We're approaching the end now. Lesson number 22 is the power of a pause. The power of a pause. So I've got a bit of a strong personality. And when I was at school, I was the complete opposite. I was actually quite quiet and I got pushed around. I got bullied in high school, both by some of the people who were supposedly my friends and also some other people at my school, including being physically assaulted at school and also after school by some people who I went to school with. So I think what's happened is that I've built this real resilience and now I have this don't push me around attitude thing going on. So in my earlier days of business, what I would do is when a particular circumstance of conflict came up or when things weren't done quite the way that I thought they should be done, I would instantly write an email or a message back sticking up for myself. Now, over time, I have learned that is not a terribly effective way of communicating. And often what you say in the heat of the moment isn't perhaps the way that you might say it if you pause and think about it and say it later. So what I've learned is that if there is someone, be it, biz friends, team, clients, there's a lot of power in not reacting straight away. You can still draft up the email, but don't send it. Or have a think about what you might want to say. Something I personally have learned is that when I sleep on things, when I pause, 90% of the time, I respond in a different way. I write a very different email or I respond in a different way once I've given it a bit of space. And again, I do think that having been through therapy has really supported me with this because it's enabling me to see that other people might see a situation in a different way. So a great lesson for me from this year is learning to pause, to not to react, to take a little bit of time and see if I handle it different at a different point in time. Alrighty. And number 23, the final lesson, 23 lessons from 2023. Here is number 23. This really isn't something new. You would have heard me talk about it before, but it's that mindset is everything. So much of my life has changed for the better by learning to control how I look at things, how I perceive things. When you start to do this work, you will notice other people. You will hear the way that they talk about things. You will notice the way that they react. And as you start to do more and more of this work, you will notice that you start to try and look at things from a different lens. Is there a different way that I could see this? Because 90% of success is how you are looking at things, learning how you can perceive the thing that is going on. The action is actually just the last little bit. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this two-part series, my recap on some of the biggest lessons that I've learned. As you can probably hear, I've really enjoyed creating this list and sharing it with you. I trust that everything is going well as you are starting to wrap up 2023 and that you can take some time to reflect on the year that was before you start to look ahead into the year of 2024. Thanks so much for tuning in to this series. And I can't wait to chat to you again next week on the Clarewood Podcast.